Welcome to my channel, Judo Reigns. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button and share to grow this channel. It is still fairly new, but the spiritual prophecies and the spiritual state in which we are in and what will be, what has happened, what is, and what will be may be helpful not only to you, but it will be helpful to all the others. I would encourage you to listen to the Iron Rule video, which will help you understand this particular audio that I'm doing right now. I'm going to read from The Divine Plan of the Ages, a helping hand for Bible students. It is a very old book, well over 100 years since its publishing, which was in this book in 1937. So I've had this for a number of years, and I came across it when I was in Oklahoma, actually, many years ago. So on page 303, there is a subheading that says the kingdom everlasting. And what this is this is explaining what is going to unfold, what is unfolding now, what will unfold in the future. The kingdom everlasting is the end point of that, of what we will obtain, which is perfection, mind, body, and spirit, and a complete connection between ourselves, the Most High God, the heavenly realm, the creator of the universe, and the universe itself. And we will be operating in a perfect stance. This is what we lost with what had taken place in the Garden of Eden between Adam and Eve, which is something that eventually spread out in perfection, which eventually spread out to the whole of the planet. And so everybody who was elevating from the heart chakra and up began to elevate from below and waste below into degradation and into malice and, of course, unfortunately, into unaliving, into wars, into battles and conflicts, into lying and deceit. Everything, every low vibrational, imperfect abnormality we have suffered. We are the last generation, the last children to live under that condition. And what we see now is that turning and the upturning of that. The dominion, the last dominion of Satan has been with the European. And so the European nations that, as I speak here in 2026 of March, the European nations are literally at war with one another again. I know that they are attacking Iran, but many Iranians, when they come over here, and many people from the part of that world, when they come over, they mark white. And so in that case, that tells me that they're subscribing to white supremacy. Now, as for the Iranians, I will stipulate this. There is that story where they released prisoners of war that were black and women. So black men and women were released when they were taken hostage by the Iranians, and only the white men were left in their captivity. And so that bespeaks, so in the attack that's happening on them, I do have a question mark about them, again, stipulating that white supremacy is global, but there is a question mark. Of course, we know that the real reason why they're in that part of the world, been wanting itching to get into that part of the world. The cover story, I believe, is oil. There may be something deeper underneath that they're trying to get to that they can't. And my suspicion, which has just been brought to my mind right now, my suspicion is that that could be the place in which underground or somewhere in that space, in that part of the world, the great Satan, the demons may have been bound. So that was just brought to my mind now, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. But we know that if you read the Bible, those who are Bible literate and those who have been given insight, spiritual insight from the Most High, we know that there will be a time where the great Satan cannot move he's not going to govern. And the demons also, too, although given a little bit of time to rule, which they have, which is why I think there's Epstein's all over the place. Not just the one that's been exposed, but that there's one in every city that that they have been bound in the fact that what I originally understood is that they could not operate their power. They could not put the battery in the backs of their their servants, right? Their anointed ones. They could not help. They cannot help them anymore, which is why we have why we have the mess we have going on today. And it's so in your face, and so many things that have been hidden for decades, hundreds of years, are now being brought out to the truth. That will not stop, by the way. It will keep going. But the main thing with Iran and the attack with Iran is, and even with Venezuela, there could have been some movement of these entities from one place to another. It would make sense that if they were to be bound, that the Most High would get them out of the United States, would get them out of Europe. And that in itself would constitute a battle, even underground. I don't know if you guys have heard in the last few years, there have been reports and video clips showing, like along the streets, that for some unknown reason, smoke will be coming out of like the I don't know, the tunnels that were under the streets. And many people would not know what was that? Why would there be smoke coming out of there? Just for no reason. And also, too, you had a lot of people out in farmland or out in neighborhoods hearing blasts underneath the ground. And so the insight that was given to me is that that was the time that the angels were operating to get a hold of these extraterrestrials, getting a hold of them and binding them, basically putting them in prison, just like you would when you're when American cops try to get a criminal, right, or a criminal that they say is a criminal. It is not a peaceful affair. It is a very violent affair. It's a very dangerous affair to apprehend someone, a criminal who's trying to get away, right? And that they would use whatever means that they can in order to escape. So how much more so for a supernatural being that has been in charge for all these thousands of years? How much so for them to have lost their power and to be bound or to be confined? And so there may have, that was primarily here in the United States from many of the reports, that there were all this underground stuff going on, and that there was probably military action, but it was probably of a supernatural nature, and they probably moved them from one place out of America, probably to South America, and then moved them again to that part of the world that is now being bombed out, or is really actually now bombing everybody else. And that speaks to me that they may have an angel helping them. They may have an angel helping them. And I'm talking about the Iranians. They may have a supernatural force that is really directing where to hit. Now, of course, you know, the white man, the white woman are not going to say that. They are not going to say that, because that will really upend their plans about them being supreme. But even the revealing of the deep, dark secrets, which were not done yet, that revealing is going to continue. But it signals that the power to keep the lid on it has been removed. So every hidden thing will be revealed, and that is what we're seeing now. So my tingling my antenna is saying that the Iranians are probably possibly getting help from the angels, and it really only takes one. And that one could be the one that is directing them, just like with the demons who have been directing the European nations and telling them what to do. And that's why they've been doing all this ritualistic sacrificing in order to imbue the power from these demonic spirits. Well, they're gone now. They're not helping them. And that's why things are not turning out in the way that white Europeans and white Americans and white people all over the globe and those who claim to be white would have expected for them to turn out. Why it's all going belly up. And even now, you can just about still sense that at some point, right or wrong, you can sense from them that things will come our way. We will still win, no matter what. Well, I'm here to say that that is not the case. Your days of winning any of the battles, winning any of the wars is done and over with. And it's so much so that the prime minister of Israel, Netanyahu, has not even made an appearance. I'll check later today if he makes an appearance, but he hasn't said squat. And they said that that man is in hiding. That should let you know everything you need to know. But yeah, and that just came to me, that revelation that that was the last dance, and that they have, and I'm talking about the contingency of Satan and the demons, they may have been gathered up and they may have been moved to that part of the world, and they are bound probably below in the earth, or could be above the earth. I don't know. But that is the last holding ground. That's going to be the place that probably could possibly be their binding holding place. I don't know. Because again, we got Christ's kingdom that's going to then be put in charge of the whole planet. And Christ's kingdom administrators may move them to a different place. Where? I don't know. But it would stand to reason why this man went in. Oil is the cover story. Oil is the cover story. It is not the main story. It is not the real story. The real story is far more spiritual in nature. I'll say that. And so, which means America and the state of Israel will not prevail. They will not prevail. And as a matter of fact, this would mean that the trigger and the tipping point for Armageddon to take hold. So I meant to read something here, but I think I'm going to have to do it in another video. So just consider that there is the seen and the unseen that's taking place. And why would they go after Iran when they've been holding out so long, but they've been threatening them all these, what has it been, like 40, 50 years? Maybe they've been threatening to go after them. And that could have been because the great Satan, the demons, knew that that would be their possible final resting place where they would be bound, where they would be restricted to interact with any of the nations that were under their spiritual control. And of course, now the children of Satan are trying to get them free. And which means that now the Most High is going to have to step in with the angels more forthrightly, in order to stop them. And of course, when that happens, that is going to be cause for setting us, the descendants of American slaves, free, and for us to then go into New Jerusalem and to establish that. Thank you for listening.